let's talk about our friend Charlie Kirk. I want to do a little wellness check on our friend Charlie Kirkarino, founder, owner of PPUSA. Charlie was doing a little meetup, okay? He was in Boise, Idaho. He was talking to some people. He was having some fun. They were doing a little conference. He was just speaking, talking to the conservatives about how much him and his party want to ruin people's lives and how he has so many ideas about how to make other human beings' lives worse and almost unlivable. Just normal stuff that TPUSA likes to talk about. But they opened themselves up to take questions from the audience, which, you know, last time that happened to Charlie, he had like a bunch of Nick Fuentes' cocksuckers there to be like, why should I have gay people in party? They have sex with butt and that's bad. And that was like their entire contribution to that. And they just kept doing that over and over again. Basically, they're like, why should we have brown people when brown people stinky? Would you answer that, Mr. Kirk? And it didn't go well for him. So obviously when Charlie opens up the mic, bad things typically happen. Okay. And so he obviously hasn't learned his lesson, because after spending all of this time talking about the riot at the Capitol and how things are being, and how the country is being stolen and how white people are on the back foot and the decline and we need to do something about, someone needs to stand up about it. Apparently the conservatives that he's talking to are taking that message to heart. You tell someone that their country is crumbling. You tell someone that their country is falling apart, right? And then you have boss man Biden and the Democrats in office doing things like wanting to raise the minimum wage and like not shooting brown people when they see them, and like really crazy shit like saying slavery happened, you know, just awful. Oh, don't even get me started on women's rights. Dude. So obviously they were like, man, we got to do something. And these people have some ideas about what they want to do. Let's watch some of this.
You're brave. You're brave for what you say and the fact that you stand up there and say it. And I appreciate it. I think we all appreciate it, actually, because there's not a lot of people that have the balls to do it. Woo! But I want to ask you something a little bit out of the ordinary.
Not many people have the balls to sit up on stage and tell you why you don't deserve to have nice things in your life. That's true. You're right. Charlie is really built different.
So prepare yourself. At this point, we're living under corporate and medical fascism. This is tyranny. When do we get to use the guns? No, and I'm not, that's not a joke. I'm not saying it like that. I mean, literally, where's the line? How many elections are they going to steal before we kill these people?
So, hello? Hello? Sanity? Are you there? The lights are off, man. Nobody's home. That's crazy. Okay, so is this 4K? This is 8K. So he walks up there with his full chest and he's like, I have to ask him this question. I have to get here. We have to talk about it. Because at the end of the day, think of it. If you buy into what conservatives have been saying, is this that crazy? Is it really? Is it that wild? If they've spent like the last years saying that Obama's a Muslim president who's going to bring Muslimism here, and your like beautiful blonde haired Daisy Duke and daughter is going to be replaced with a goat because Muslim, you know, and then Trump comes in, his cock is so fat he almost like when he could like body slam someone with his cock through the Oval Office desk, but he got the election stolen from him by the Democrats because by like voting more, and that's like really unfortunate, right? And then they lied about the January 6th riot at the Capitol, even though I do like the riot at the Capitol, but I also think it looks bad, so I try and optically distance myself from it by also clinging on to it because you think it was so hot when they tried to kill Nancy Pelosi and hang Mike Pence. If you buy into all of that, right? If you buy into all of that, and remember, Charlie Kirk went out on his stream a couple of weeks ago and said on air, Democrats are trying to reduce the white population so they can destroy you and destroy the country. That's why they want brown people to come in. If you believe that, if you genuinely believe that BLM and Antifa have destroyed like half of New York, all of Minneapolis, okay? Like let actually, let me pull up a picture of Minneapolis like today. 1 second. There we are. This is actually, if you didn't know, this is a picture of what modern day 2020 Minneapolis looks like. This is true. Look at what BLM has done. They've actually completely destroyed it. It's almost like it was hit with a bomb even. And so like, if you actually believe this, if you think that this is real, if you believe that brown people are coming into the country and Nancy Pelosi is personally bussing them around, she's whipping the foreign in one hand while eating like $9,000 ice cream with the other, and bussing brown people and doing like a sick freaking burnout in the middle of a voting station, and all the brown people come like popping out like fucking pigmen, okay, and they go in and vote, and then they walk around the building and put on a fake mustache and vote again, and they walk around the building and put on like a funny hat and then vote again, and they walk around the building again and put on like a cool coat and then vote again. If you believe that and the country's being taken from you, don't you think that it's more reasonable to assume that you're like, my country is under attack? This is like pure tyranny. Okay. He said medical and political fascism, because medical fascism is when they tell me to get a vaccine and I don't, but then they don't let me shit in my local like Red Lobster because I'm not wearing a mask. This is actually what fascism is. They are, if you unironically believe that you are living the same existence as the Jews in Nazi Germany, if you believe that you're being ghettoized, if you think that in someday Joe Biden is going to start like rev up the freaking like Dallas Birkenau and start busing like groups of like Trump supporters into the gas chamber, don't you think that it would be more reasonable to believe that you need to like take arms? It makes more sense if you believe it, but you'd have to be crazy to believe it. You'd have to be fed all of these conservative lies to actually believe it. You have to be cuck-pilled like them. You have to be cum-pilled to believe this sort of stuff, to pay people like Tucker Carlson and Turning Points USA, give them money to actually go to these places to tell you how your country's being stolen from you, even though like white cis straight people are like the highest earners and have like the most political power, and that's not even really changing. Even that, they still believe that things are being taken from them. They believe it. So after all of this fear mongering, after all of this doomsaying, after all of this, Charlie is now surprised that people think that it's a good idea to go kill people. What? After like white nationalists and white supremacists and like American right-wing terror and political violence in this country has killed more people than 9/11 and has been the most instances of racially motivated and politically motivated violence in the country is attributed to the right wing, especially after like Trump got into office. These are just the numbers. Okay. Listen, it's just wild. Despite making up only 30% of the country, right wingers make up 99% of the hate crimes. It's just a really strange thing. It's just a really strange thing. But hey, listen, Charlie Kirk is the feeling that he got when this man asked this question is what it feels like when the consequences of your own actions catch up to you. And I want you to also listen to the crowd as well.
Before we kill these people.
So no, no, hold on. No, stop.
They're clapping. Did you hear that? They're like, woo! Woo! They're clapping. They were actually clapping. You're clapping. He wants to kill people and you're clapping. They're clapping. A lot of people were silent. Some people were like boo, but the majority of people who decided to make a noise about that, they were clapping. This is everyone in the building. These aren't just like bad apples. All right. This is the consequences of your own actions. After fear mongering so hard, Charlie Kirk now has to contend with the optical nightmare that is his own fan base waiting for his call to go kill their local politicians. Curious, isn't it?
Hold on. Now I'm going to denounce that. I'm going to tell you why. Because you're playing into all their plans and they're trying to make you do this. That's okay. Just hear me out. You started with a compliment, so at least give me a little bit. They are trying to provoke you and everyone here. They are trying to make you do something that will be violent, that will justify a takeover of your freedoms and liberties, the likes of which we have never seen. We are close to have, hold on, we are close to have momentum to be able to get this country back on a trajectory using the peaceful means that we have at us. So to answer your question, and I just think it's, overly blunt, we have to be the ones that do not play into the violent aims and ambitions of the other side. They fear, let me say this very clearly, they fear us holding the line with self-control and discipline.
So here he is. I'm going to give him credit. He's going to have to disavow it, but I honestly don't see much different between like this. Oh, I disavow this. We have to be like kind and cordial. We're holding the line with peaceful means. Who's doing most of the political violence in the country? Don't ask that question. Okay, it's not a good look. It's not a good look. Okay, don't look it up. They're not holding the line with peaceful means, and they're not going to hold the line with peaceful means. After we go more into the future, they're going to be more violent, just like they have in the past. The uptick in hate crimes and political violence has ticked up ever since Trump got into office, and it's going to keep going. Obviously, he disavowed this. It's a complete political nightmare. Turning Points USA has to be seen as a normie sort of like fine, okay, not completely insane radical group, or else they'll lose a lot of their goodwill that they have with people who are non-political or like very slightly political, right? What a nightmare. So he can't do that. He can't, even if he wanted to, which I'm not going to say he really doesn't. Even if he wanted to, he can't come out and like agree with this. He just can't.
Taking over school board meetings, they're the ones that are willing to use federal force against us. And
we all know how Trump didn't want to use any federal force against his political opponents, right? we all know that, right? Oh man, Donald Trump, he used the least amount of federal force ever of any president. Pretty wild if you think about it.
And I know that people get fired up. We are living under fascism. We are living under this tyranny. But if you think for a second that they're not wanting you to all of a sudden get that next level where they're going to say, okay, we need Patriot Act 2.0. If you think that, Waco is bad, wait till you see what they want to do next. What I'm saying is that we have a very fragile balance.
Here's the thing. While he's denouncing the violence, he's turning up the heat. And you have to actually really listen to understand what he's doing. You have a fire extinguisher with one hand, but it's faulty and it's almost out. And you have gasoline in the other hand, and you're like you're like hitting a fire with it. Okay. And people are like, oh, look, he's trying to put out the fire. He's once again saying that, oh, you think we live under fascism right now. We live under like complete tyranny right now. The world is like near crumbling right now, but we could take it back. Maybe. You think Waco was bad? Just wait to what they're going to do next. What are they going to do next? What are you talking about, man? Waco, you mean the armed far-right cultists abusing? Yeah, Waco. We all know the good old boys at Waco, the armed far-right cultists who were like assaulting children in their home. Listen, if you think that's bad, just wait until what Biden has planned for you. I'm telling you, they actually think they're going to end up in camps. They're children who want to like pretend that they're oppressed. You've seen it before, right? They're like medical fascism. You've seen it before, right? Where conservatives have started to print their own like stars of David that say like unvaxxed on it, and then they wear them around like they're just making their own oppression. It's incredible. Okay, it's like seeing puppy play in real life, but it's like what are they going to call it? Like Jew play? Is that what they're going to call it? I'm starting to think it has to be like a kink or something at this point. It's just really curious, like defending Waco, going on all these wild stuff. Yeah, oppressive play. It's just wild stuff out of these people. So he's trying to pretend like he's turning down the heat by saying, no, we don't need to be political, while turning up the pressure that led this person to believe this by him still saying that apparently Joe Biden's going to put them in camps and they're going to destroy the world and white people will be like kept as pets in like 20 years time if we don't stop them.
Right now at our current time where we must exhaust every single peaceful mean possible. I will say this, Idaho has not even started to exercise the peaceful means of state sovereignty against the federal government. Not even close. I'll give you 5 things Idaho could do right now. The governor of Idaho could sign an executive order that says there are no vaccine mandates for private, for public, for anyone. It's not going to happen. He could do that right now.
control. RPMP's business is being able to engage in free trade. What the fuck? Listen, Amazon not giving bathroom breaks and forcing their employees to shit in bags. Pog. Amazon having their employees get vaccinated so they don't kill each other. Unpog. Here's a really wild thing. It's a story from a while ago. Okay, this is a story from a while ago. I forget if I posted the video about it, but I remember this. All right, a meat processing plant in, if I remember correctly, once again I could be wrong, Iowa. So what was happening is that there's this big meat processing plant, and it was basically like a company town. Okay, that was the big hiring center in town. It provided a lot of meat for the town, and we all know how them Idahoans love their meat. Real. All right, they're meat boys down there, and it was like really big for hiring a lot of people. Lots of people who lived in the city worked at the plant. When COVID hit, a lot of people, that Tyson store, that factory wasn't doing the proper means to make sure that their employees were vaccinated, and if they weren't vaccinated, were safe on the factory floor. What was happening is that 1,000 people and more got sick, and many even died while working there. And there were even paying people to come in and not stay home because they were scared of getting COVID. This is early in the pandemic, and it gets even worse. It started to get so bad, the factory floor became such a hot spot of COVID. People were coughing, people were getting sick. Some people were even collapsing while working. Because once again, like, there's not many hiring opportunities in places like Iowa. So obviously you're like, hey, I can't lose my job here. I have to keep working. And they pay you to stay in like $500, if I remember correctly. Like, obviously for a lot of people who don't make that much, $500 can be a godsend. So they stayed, and a couple of them died, and many of them got sick. Once again, like over 1,000. But it gets even worse. It became such a hot spot on the floor. Managers and supervisors stopped even going to the floor. They started to have other workers who were below them take their job and start going to the floor for them because they didn't want to get COVID. They didn't want to get sick with the plebeians, with the disgusting frogs down there in their little cesspit. They didn't want to go there. So as they were paying them to come in and work, they didn't even want to be around them because they didn't want to get sick themselves. And it gets even worse. The managers were actually betting on how many of their employees were going to get sick. They were like rolling the dice. All right. They were betting. Oh, I think 500 are going to get sick today. Oh, really? I think 700, bro. Those are bitch numbers. I think 1,000. And so they were just betting. And it got so bad, a lot of them even stopped coming to the factory at all. Almost 60,000 got COVID and almost 300 died. So when we're sitting here and we're talking about, hey, oh, dude, this is fascism. We need to make sure that these companies don't institute any vaccine mandates for their employees. Not only is it, even if you're like the cold, callous, disgusting person that is Charlie Kirk, who does the soulless corporate like capitalist calculus on what's going to make you the most amount of money while also not getting you in hot water so you lose money. And so how many people can you kill or how many people can you abuse to extract the most amount of cash from their like limp bodies? If you're doing that calculus like Charlie, it's even bad from that point of view, where you're like, that hurt their business, period, and made them look bad to the community, which hurt business, and it stopped a lot of their workers from being able to work, but they just don't care. Even here, making money is below the idea of like owning the libs or feeling like or like the idea of not wanting to take a vaccine. Listen, at the end of the day, when it comes to this, Charlie's vaccinated. Everybody in Charlie's office is vaccinated. If you see him out, he's going to be wearing a mask a lot of the times, especially if he's taking the plane. He's wearing a mask while he tells other people not to, or they shouldn't, or pushing vaccine skepticism. He's fine. But everyone else under him are suffering and dying. Not stopping companies from doing the bare minimum, which is mandating vaccines, will kill people. But that's a risk Charlie is willing to make. Oh, he said he was not vaccinated and still pushing vaccine shit. Still, also, I'm not gonna lie to you, I feel like some of the people who even say they're not vaccinated are vaccinated. You know what I mean? I feel like they're lying for optical reasons. That being said, he could be not vaccinated. He could be like huffing his own farts here. That's true. But at the same time, I feel like some of them are lying. You know what I mean? I know everyone in like Fox News, all the talking heads, those guys are all vaccinated. They had a vaccine mandate. Sure, bud. This isn't tyranny. This is trying to keep people safe. But Conservatives don't care about that. That doesn't matter. You think that matters to them, keeping people safe? It's all about political posturing. That's what matters to them. That's what they like. All right. And human life is only secondary to that. It's only secondary to the feeling of wanting wanting to do better, the feeling of like being superior. Everything else is below that. It's a really weird ideology, and it's killing a lot of people. And once again, as long as they're not the ones dying, and even with Charlie Kirk, when it is them dying, remember, like, his business partner, co-founder of PPUSA, died of COVID. Hey, listen, if he died of COVID, that's more share in the company than that Kirk has, right? Hey, listen, even when it does come to them, he's willing to make that calculus. It's okay. It's not his life. I don't think human life even enters their calculus. It's about pride. You know what? You may be right. They don't even care about the human life aspect. It's just pride and greed. True. The deadliest of sins comes right after the cinema sins.